Hello and welcome to Becky's House of Sewing. I think I'm on episode 11. So exciting. So thank you for joining me on my Flosstube. This is kind of my vlog, podcast, however you want to refer to it, about all things thread and needle, because I might be slightly obsessed with crafty things that require threads and needles. I have a different perspective because it's kind of afternoon and it's winter, so it gets darker sooner. So my sewing room window faces west, so I've kind of got that light coming through, so I wanted to not be backlit. But it gives you a good view of my sewing machine. That's kind of nice. Hi 6700p. And my door, Buster has just walked in, so who knows what will happen. I got a cute picture of Pearl recently, so I'll include her in here as well, so you guys can see Pearl, because she's a sweet girl. All old animals. I like geriatric animals. They're more my speed. So last I saw you, I was recovering from a cold, not COVID. Still doing so, still have kind of a wicked cough, which is not really unusual for me. I am susceptible to postnasal drip and all the cold related things to that. So I'm medicated. I have a cough drop. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So right off the bat, I need to apologize profusely. I had two gross oversights. First of all, I did not talk about my neighbor Ron enough. Apparently, there's a drinking game. So every time I say Ron, they drink. So it's important that I say Ron more than once or twice, because, Ron and Connie are watching and they need to be able to have adult beverages, and I would hate to deny them that opportunity. The other gross oversight that I had was that my cousin Lynn, hi Lynn, Facebook messaged me. She has her mother and my mother are first cousins. So that makes Lynn my second cousin, if anybody never knew how that worked. So Phyllis had a beautiful green Bernina machine. Very old school Bernina. Which I have graciously offered to house if she ever needed to get rid of it. But alas, she wants to keep it. I know, right? So she had used it to hem up her son's band pants, 5 whole inches. So here's the miracle. And all things sewing should be celebrated. Lynn, my apologies that it's a week late. However, that you sewed a straight hem, and we were able to cut off 5 inches of pants, and then also be so early. She doesn't need them until next week, people. And she messaged me last week about it. So, I mean, she's 2 weeks ahead of the game during holiday season. This is very impressive. So I just wanted to give those two people due notice. Lynn, congratulations. Great job. Always love hearing about people using their machine and being successful in their crafts, even if it is, sewing clothing. It all counts. Thread and needle was used. Perfect. And Ron, I apologize profusely that I did not talk about you enough last week. I hope to rectify it. But again, it may be all drinking in the beginning of it, but still, I've said Ron at least 5 or 6 times. So there we have it. All right. So last week I was on vacation. It was a very adult, stressful vacation, unfortunately. Still battling my cold. Excuse me. Buster had a seizure. That wasn't fun. I talked about that already. And then after my my video, my heat went out. Yeah, So that puts a dent into my craft budget a little bit. So that is limping along. The heat repair is it's functioning. I am not cold. However, it is not yet repaired. And hopefully that repair will happen on Friday. Fingers crossed. Okay. Ooh. I just thought of something. I hope the repair does happen on Friday. It might not be able to. Anyway, I digress. So it did end on a high note. I was feeling really good Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I felt like I was recovering from my cold. Got to see my mom on Sunday. She was tired of hearing me talk about Stash of Charlotte and wanted to come down and see it herself. So we started our Sunday there at Stash around 1 o'clock. I picked up a few more things because if you recall, the original reason I went to Stash, not only because I was excited that they were reopening, but because I needed bobbins for my baby. But they hadn't gotten fully unpacked, so they did not have bobbins available for me to purchase. So I had seen a couple other things that I ended up not buying that day that I was there. And so I said, you know, if this is here when I get back, I'll buy it then. And so I did. So let's start off with the bobbins. So got the regular bobbins. Nothing too exciting. But then I got these bobbins. Look how cute. Okay. You all know I work at the Container Store, right? So containers matter. What it comes in matters. So this is a nice little case for bobbin holding. And they're also blue. I didn't know they came in blue, but they also come in red. So what Lucy, the owner of Stash, said was that she likes, if she's going to do like a different weight in her bobbin than her upper thread, then sometimes she will use the colors to signify what she's using in the bobbin. I thought that was genius. And I got just one pack. So this should be more than enough to hold me over for a while. Because I think I started off with about 20 bobbins. I just have that much thread behind me. I don't have oodles and oodles of thread yet. But it's nice to have extra bobbins. It's like needles. You can't run out of those things. So the other thing that I had my eye on were some French scissors, because you also can't have too many scissors. And in needlepoint, you want scissors similar to this. So you want shorter needles. You don't really, needles. You need shorter scissors. You don't really need long, big scissors. But you need something that has kind of a tiny point to it. See if that's coming up. With thin blades. And preferably pretty sharp. Because the idea in my cross stitch especially is that when you bury your when you bury your threads in the back, you want to cut your threads as close as you can, so that you don't have anything showing from behind and past your stitches, because most of the materials I use are linen, so it's kind of more of an open weave. So you want to kind of hide any traveling stitches or any extra threads. You don't want a lot of dangling threads in the back, so you can't see them. All you see are the stitches. So she has a pair of these fancy ones, and these are French, so I'm probably not going to say it correct, but Soju, maybe? Soju? And I got these because they were part of a kit. She has some fancy ones at the register that are like $100. These are not as fancy, and having played with them, I know why, but they're also very lovely to work with. And they're cute. Look at that pattern. Can you see that pattern? Let's see if I hide myself there. Yeah, pretty, right? Right. But what's even prettier is that it came in this cute box. So again, the container got me. So let's see if I can put the scissors in here. This is a 2-layered sewing box. And this is kind of what it looked like on the inside. So look at all those pretty threads and a thimble and a thread ripper. I've got some pins in here, and then this is a centimeter measuring tape, but it also has these little things on the bottom. I'm sure you could, you know, make a necklace or something out of it. In the bottom of it had some needles. Can't ever have too many. And then had 3 of these thread wraps too. So, but look how pretty this pattern is. Isn't that nice? So, that's what I have. Very pleased with myself. Then I got a couple gifts. One of which is on its way. So, Abby, hope you enjoy it. And my mom was picking up some things as well. And I said, well, if my mom has it, of course I want it, because I want everything she has. I mean, let's get real. Down to the dust bunnies, just to remind you, Mom, because I know you're watching. Got these. So these are labels by Cat M, luxury woven labels. Because you should, as you do anything handmade, you should make sure you sign it and label it and make sure that people know about it. Now, these labels are not, they're fun and whimsical. They're not necessarily for specific documentation. But you should, if you're making things, document it somehow so that you have a record of it and the people who own it after you are long gone, years from now, has some documentation. And I say this because I like to sew samplers. There's a huge contingent of people who sew reproduction samplers. And there are collectors of reproduction samplers, just like there are collectors of old quilts. And when I say old, I'm talking 1800s. So there are hand-sewn samplers, cross-stitch samplers out there that are from the 1800s, people, that people own. So wouldn't it be amazing that in 200 years from now, that people would have the documentation that you give them so they know who you are, what is your story, and 200 years from now, people are reproducing the things that you made. It could happen. But anyway, so these are cute little labels that are "You Are Loved," "New Threads." There's some that say "So Comfy," "Original," "Sewist," things like that. That could just be extra bling on whatever I decide to do. I have already used 2. And those recipients will be getting them shortly. And when they do, then I can talk about it. But those have been fun to sew into little projects. Okay. Oh, I forgot to bring something, but I'll just tell you about it because it's not really exciting to talk about yet. Before I went to talk about the other thing I forgot. I'm jumping all over the place. Sorry. Enjoy. So the chair I'm sitting in, I purchased because I had used it at a class at the Quilt Patch, which is my local quilt shop. and they were comfy, so I thought. But what I had discovered in recent history was that every time I'm sewing at my machine, my lower back gets thrown out and it really hurts. So I was cross-stitching way more because I have a recliner and it's in the living room. I have good lighting. All my stuff is right there. So it's easy to sit down and I don't hurt myself. And I have a bigger screen TV. I digress. So I've been trying to figure out how to resolve this. I mean, do I just buy a new chair? Do I try and find a seat? Well, a month or so ago, I had gone, my mother-in-law wanted to buy some new shoes. Being an elderly woman, she scuffs her feet. She doesn't pick up her feet very easily. I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons is that she has arthritis in her feet, so that her feet hurt. So she was hoping to find some leather-soled shoes so that she didn't get tripped up, because what happens when she scuffs her feet in rubber-soled shoes is that she can actually trip on the carpet. So we had gone to a store. I'm like, let's just drop in here and see what this store is and see if they have any leather-soled shoes. And it was Good Feet. I don't know, I think it's a chain. What they end up specializing in are supports for inside your shoes, so you don't have a lot of shoes. But while we were there, for the brief like 5 minutes that we were there, they had this thing called Back Joy, and I actually sat in it and like, oh, I kind of like this. So I did a little more research. I'm sitting on it now, so I'm not getting up to show it to you, but I do have the paperwork. It is that little guy right there. So it's a hard plastic seat that's kind of concaved. It does have some cushy support, but the way you're supposed to sit on it, I don't know if you can tell, you're not sitting in it, you're sitting on it, if that makes any sense at all. And what it does is it stops your back from doing this to doing this. So it rotates your pelvis in such a way that it doesn't allow your discs to slip in your lower back. And I got it home, and almost immediately my back cracked, and I'm like, I love this. And I could sew for 4 or 5 hours and not have any back pain, which is a delight. That was Friday that I did that. I'd also stopped at the store, AAA Sewing, in Stallings, where I got this little bad boy because I wanted all the tools. I wanted all the feet. So I had ordered a HP, which is high performance walking foot, because it did not come with my machine, and I wanted to use it because I hear I had practiced with the regular HP foot, which did come with the machine, but the walking foot, Ron is probably familiar with because he's familiar with sewing machines. But the walking foot has feed dogs on the bottom of the foot, as well as the feed dogs on the bottom of the machine. So when you're sewing multiple layers of fabric together, they all go at the same route, same speed. Excuse me. If you have, for example, in quilting, when you have a quilting sandwich, Ron, I don't know if you know this, the quilting sandwich is the back fabric, the middle, the batting or wadding, and the front, which is usually what is been pieced together or appliqued or whatever. So all three of those layers can be pretty thick, and if you only have the feed dogs on the bottom working, your bottom layer will move faster than your top layer. So in order to keep them all together, a lot of quilters and a lot of crafters will use a walking foot. Now, this machine does come with a walking foot, like a regular walking foot. That walking foot is right here. So you can kind of see the feed dogs, how they go. This is different than the Bernina walking foot, and I am not as comfortable with the markings for a 1/4 inch seam, which Ron in quilting, you want a 1/4 inch seam. So the Bernina one that I used from my mom's machine was much more clear and telling you what the 1/4 inch is. The HP foot is very clear on what it is. The walking foot is, because the HP foot, let's see. Here's the HP foot, non-walking foot. So in the Janome, the HP puts the needle in a different location, which is actually why that little hole is there. If you see that hole right here, that hole is there so that if for some reason your machine doesn't move the needle correctly, you don't break your needle because it has a hole to go through. Genius. But the Janome machine is a top loading bobbin. Not some machines load their bobbin on the sides, some load it in the front of the machine. This is on the top. So the way that the mechanism works when it's making the stitch, the bobbin thread comes out straighter when you use this, so you get a crisper straight stitch for this type of machine. So it's a different needle plate, and that signifies to the machine to use only this type of foot. So the HP walking foot, which is on my machine, I'm not taking it off, and I don't want to move the camera around because it just gets a little weird. Looks exactly like this, but in this style. So it's got the plastic on it, and it's got one, see where this has 2 feed dogs? It has one in the middle, kind of in the middle of this, that helps move things along. I have started using it because I started cutting out my Roaring 20s quilt, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's really nice. I really like it. So I'm very pleased. It was a long wait. So all this device, ooh, I'm at 23 minutes. Long video. You're welcome. It was a long wait because it was back ordered and everything was back ordered. And unfortunately, AAA Sewing has very luxury hours, which do not meet with my luxury retail lifestyle. So I have very limited days to go in. So I went in on Friday and said, hey, what's the deal with my walking foot? And it happened to be there, and it just got missed that they didn't call me that it was ready. But I got to walk out with it, and then I got my back joy, and then I came home and I sewed all day. It was delightful. Delightful Friday. In and amongst that, I had shown you guys I had finished my Somebody Loves You. But now this is an FFO, Ron, fully finished object. Because I used the flat fold. Now, some of you may have seen that I posted this on Instagram because my mother told me to. My mother's always right. I haven't said that in a while, but she is always right. It's just kind of a known thing. But I was very pleased. So I was working on this kind of all week in different stages because I needed to watch the tutorial. I needed to get the materials. Somehow I was out of Aleene's glue. How does that happen as a crafter? Kind of embarrassing. So I had to buy some more glue, blah, blah, blah. But this is the end result. Isn't that nice? So this is a flat fold, what they call a flat fold. So that when, if it's a seasonal item that you don't want to have out all the time, you can just fold it up and put it in a box and store it easily. But you just basically are wrapping fabric around some matting and gluing a ribbon in there to kind of keep it open so it stands up nicely. I don't know, can I put it up here for you guys to see how it stands? Yeah, look how nice. So here's my anxiety about it. I think my mother-in-law will like it because I made it. My husband grew up with a brown bunny named Ralph because he loves the Christmas Story movie, and Ralph is the main character of that. So they named their bunny Ralph. And everyone loved Ralph. But he passed away. But my anxiety about this is that my mother-in-law loves blue. This is very pink heavy. Now, I think she'll like it because, again, I made it for her. And it's handmade and she can appreciate that. But I kind of made this for myself. In anticipation that I would likely re-inherit this at some point. But you can see I did do a label. I just used a tag that I had on hand. I was going to do fabric, and writing on fabric is a little harder. But I was like, you know what? I could just take this tag and then glue the tag on. And I feel like I'm a genius. So anyway, I'm very pleased with that. Which allowed me to get back to Token of Fall. I don't know if anybody noticed, I keep my patterns that have multiple pages on rings so that I can put the patterns in page protectors and flip around to what I need. Sometimes, like when I'm doing the bird, I did make like what we call in the biz working copies. So run a working copy so that I could kind of highlight what I've completed so I don't lose my place. Because as you can imagine, a whole thing of that bird can get kind of like all the same color. Where am I again? What did I do? And I don't know, again, if you know me very well, but I have a counting issue. I have all my hobbies require good math skills, which I don't often have. So I was able to get back to that, and I made some good progress. So I made it all the way down here to turn the corner. So this is the bottom of it. And then, so I did some more of the letters. I need to finish the Z here, but I ran out of black and just didn't want to go back yet. I'll be able to do it when I do more letters over here. So I started on the green with the half of the leaves. So there's the other half of the leaf is another color. And then I started on the stem so that maybe I could start up the bird with the legs that way. So that's kind of fun. The thing that I forgot was I wanted to start I told you guys I wanted to start the next project for, I think it's with a needle and heart, joy in my heart, something like that. It's by the same lady who made this, Liz Matthews. I'll insert another picture. But Acorns and Threads, it was a commemorative chart, an exclusive chart to their store to commemorate an anniversary of being open. But I didn't have, I have lots of these roller frames. I probably have, at this point, I probably have 8 sets of bars. But of course I still didn't have the right size. They're either too small or too large. So I ordered another roller bar set, and that came in the mail. So I'm ready to get that project up. I did get all the thread drops made, so they're I did, didn't I? I think I did. They're all wound and ready to go. Yes, I did, because I made new thread drops. So I used my Cricut to make new thread drops. I got the threads wound and on the thread drops. Sorry I don't have any to show you here, Ron, but I'll show you maybe next time the thread drops. So now I just need to get it on a frame. and I can rotate between those two projects. So I'm excited to start that. So today, I'm following marching orders. My mom told me to stay home, rest up. It's the holidays, you work retail, you have a cough. Even though you sound better because you're on medicine, you should just relax and stay home. Make yourself some chicken soup and stay home. So I had to go out and get a couple of supplies for chicken soup because I was out of carrots. Buster also eats carrots for treats. So this was an unacceptable situation that could not wait any longer. And my husband is on a trip in Germany and cannot go get them for me. So I went to the closest grocery store, which is Food Line, and just got some potatoes and veggies and that kind of stuff and popsicles, because when I am sick, popsicles are my comfort food. I don't know why, but they are. So I went to the store, came home, and guess what was on my doorstep? My Pining for You quilt. Look at my quilt that I'm going to make. When am I going to make this? I don't know. That's not the point. And let me just talk about that. My aunt on stitching today, because it is Wednesday, stitching day, said, Becky, you really need to discuss this. I find it very rude for people to ask me, well, what are you going to do with that? Well, what when you're buying craft supplies or showing them or getting excited, well, what are you going to do about that? Well, that is really none of their business. Ron. That's a rude question to ask a quilter. And as my mother says, buying of craft supplies and making crafts are two different hobbies. But you can get just as much enjoyment out of both of them. So this I had posted several months ago when Tula Pink, who is the designer of this fabric, announced on her Instagram that this was a kit for her new fabric line. To any of my quilting friends in my Charlotte Quilters Guild, if they wanted to do this with me. And there's a couple of us that did. So we all ordered it. Most of us, I think, ordered it from Five Little Monkeys in Weaverville. Love their shop. They have a great presence on social media. So definitely look them up on Facebook. They do live sales on Facebook, which is really fun. Yeah, so they are really great with customer service, super helpful. I mean, it's a small quilt shop, so they're just making things happen. They do also, I don't think they sell machines, but they do machine repair there, and they do classes there. What was great about Five Little Monkeys as well is that it used to be right next to, oh, now I'm not going to remember the name, but a cross-stitch store. And everyone knows it on Flosstube. People shop from there. They have a squirrel for the mascot. And I'm not going to remember the name. I'm just not. Well, I'll put it down in the description. And before the pandemic hit, that cross-stitch store was right next door. And they had adjoining doors. So when they were both open for business, they would open it and you could just walk back and forth. So you could go from cross-stitch store to quilt store. Heaven, right? So Weaverville, North Carolina. If you're in the Asheville area, I highly recommend it. It's near Asheville. It's not in Asheville, but near it. And they've got a great restaurants. It's kitschy little downtown. So I really recommend it. Now, here's the problem. First of all, there's never enough time in the day. It's not. But now Tula Pink has a new line out that I like even more. So Tula Pink does really graphic prints, very loud and graphic. She used to be in the music business and made album covers and worked with rock stars and stuff like that. Now she makes fabric lines and has a Bernina sewing machine line and all the cool tools. So she has an industry. she's really cool patterns. So she, with every line, fabric line, which has like 40 pieces in it, she'll do an intricate quilt kit for that with an exclusive pattern for that kit. So you have to buy the kit to get that. And what's cool about it is that it usually has the most fabric in it. So she said that her philosophy is to get as many, you know, to buy all these fabrics individually would kind of be a hassle. And so this is all comes almost pre-cut. So it's easy for you to do. So now I just need to get together with my girlfriends, post on Facebook, see when we want to get together and get this started. And with that, we're at 35 minutes and I'm going to just end and bid you adieu. I hope you all enjoy this one. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to share. I certainly hope that you guys have a great week. I don't know what my Christmas week will look like because I am working on Wednesday because it's the first day of the Alpha sale. Call me. So I will be helping customers that first day, and I have a different day off that week. So I do not know when I will record. I know I will record at some time, but it may be not on Wednesday. So we shall see. But I hope you guys have a great Christmas if I don't see you, and happy stitching. Bye.